everybody. So I'm Samyu Ayyar. I work for Lloyds Banking Group in the UK. It's a retail and commercial bank, one of the leading banks in the UK. And we've got about 40 million customers, 25 to 30 million of which are active on our digital platforms. And I've been with the bank about 9 years now, and we've had a lot of strategies in that time, as you can imagine. The current one definitely being around digital transformation and, digital products. So we're here to talk to you about some of the journeys that we've had in that space.
Thank you, Samyu. And I am Thomas, and I'm an enterprise architect within Lloyds Banking Group as well. About 15 years of experience across various roles, but most recently in APIs and fallen in love with APIs. That's the summary of it. So we're here today, and we want to talk about the maturity journey, as Samyu mentioned. But what we'd like to start off with is an analogy. It's an analogy of a lady called Gertie, who owns a small business. Now, she is in the collectibles business, so she collects items, upcycles them, and resells them. How we compare that to our API thing is her collectibles are our API estate. So that's the comparison that we're going to have. But just going into what Gertie does, as I mentioned, she picks up random things. She will upcycle them to bring value to it. She puts on her own personal touch. If you think of the Vinted shop, online shop, the physical version of it is what she has today. And she has a warehouse, but none of that is in a user-friendly state or manageable at all. And that's Gertie.
So some of you guys might know where we're heading with this if you've got kids, especially teenagers. But she's got quite a chaotic shop front. It's kind of difficult for her customers to find her products. She's got a limited reach. She probably doesn't really understand who her target customers are. It's quite a disorganized kind of shop front. And the kind of challenges that she might be facing into are a kind of lax product strategy and unable to really capitalize on the monetization benefits that she really could with her offerings. And she maybe runs the risk of kind of value depreciation as well. So really, she's lacking the blueprint to kind of make her operation efficient and effective. And this is where we think she's probably coming to a conundrum of kind of the crossroads of entrepreneurial maturity, and she has a real choice here. She can either continue as she is, which is fine. She's got passion. She does very well in kind of collecting and upscaling, so it's completely fine. But she's also got an option here to rethink, re-energize, and maybe reinvent her strategy to really drive that efficiency and effectiveness. So let's kind of see what we can do to help her. And there are many different ways to kind of approach this. So there isn't one particular way, but this is just some of the things that we were thinking about. To start off with, she could have a look at what products she's got, how to categorize them, and really build a kind of catalog and inventory. Nothing new, but quite vital. This will also help her kind of understand the quality of her products and start to bring in some kind of standardization checks as well. And this kind of structured approach, with maybe the help of her wider community, seeing what other businesses are doing, bringing that kind of insight in, will really allow her to build a robust business strategy and value for her business, and be able to kind of understand what her product vision is, her strategy is, and where the value is really coming from for her business. And this is a journey. It's not going to be overnight. It's a slow journey. But as she matures through this journey, she'll start to build some market insights, but also understand how to further iterate her business so that she can keep continuing to evolve. So let's bring this back into Lloyds. I don't think Maslow was quite sure how popular his visual triangle would be, but here we are using it for our maturity model as well. So we want that different to Gertie to start off with. In the beginning, we were somewhere at the ad hoc kind of stage where we were creating a lot of APIs, and we had limited governance and strategy in place. there was a real lack of standardization and opportunity for scalability. And though it's good that everybody was ideating, we were really kind of working in silos and not really thinking about the bigger picture. But at the same time, we were starting to understand the values that APIs were kind of driving. So we were learning from our previous stage, and we slowly moved our way up into the managed state, which is where we realized the value, but we also spent a lot of time defining the API strategy, documenting our APIs, looking at how to introduce kind of security and governance measures.
Every organization will be at different stages of this pyramid. I want to take you a second to think about where in this maturity journey your organization would probably be sat at. Moving on from the managed state that Samyu mentioned, we now go on to the standardized stage, which is where you introduce quality assurance. APIs are then viewed as core products with centralized governance, and there is uniformity in development. You will have very good defined standards of open APIs and REST standards and all of that. It becomes reusable, as well as there is design and conformance. The API design and conformance is taken seriously. Beyond that stage, you have the strategic one. The strategic one is where you introduce business intelligence. APIs then become key enablers of your business strategy. It is embedded into the organization's core operations, and it also drives innovation and revenue streams. You then build out an API ecosystem, which is scalable as well, and this is in partnerships with other organizations. Moving on, you reach the optimized stage. That is the epitome of digital maturity, where you are integrated with both it's integrated for both internal and external users. It is integrated into the organization's digital transformation, and there's a culture of continuous improvement. There's predictive monitoring, and it becomes data-driven API-first estate. This model demonstrates how organizations transition from APIs being isolated technical tools to strategic business assets. The discussion we had a couple of weeks ago at the API Economy Summit in API Days London was around the shift from project to product mindset for APIs. So then you start to look after your APIs as a product. You think about it as more than just delivery and done with. You look after it for the full life cycle of it. But why is it so important? If you look at the staggering numbers of API usage, you have 46% of API traffic growth year on year from 2020 onwards, and particularly in the finance sector, you've got 125% API value growth. 83% of all web traffic is now generated by APIs. So how do we define the foundations? We have identified the key foundations for the API maturity being API definition and management, API security standards, and then thinking about the risks and the challenges, ensuring that you identify your risks and challenges. So just touching on it, really want to call out, it is the consumer-centric API documentation, the principles of zero trust, ensuring that all validation is done, data validation and data security as well as governed patterns and approved patterns. In terms of risks and challenges, identifying your shadow APIs, observability being very key, ensuring that you know all of your APIs, identifying the zombie APIs, as well as ensuring that there is innovation in what you do with your APIs, not staying stagnant, resource optimization, as well as standardizing design, etc. But what's next? We move on to where do we go from here after you've reached that maturity model. It is to drive, the first one is to think about driving further automation into your design and governance process. API linting, ensuring you use the tools and the mechanisms that you have out there to drive that automation. It is also to minimize manual efforts so that we are faster to market and we can deliver change at pace.
We're also thinking about how to architect differently. So how do we shift to a composable architecture framework? And thinking about standardizing kind of design, build, components, and capitalizing on the tooling that we have so that we're not only cloud agnostic, but we're also kind of defining and setting the pace for a unified design methodology for our engineering committee to kind of benefit from as well. And of course, as many talks here have alluded to, and kind of market insight kind of tells us, the real disruptor at the moment is machine learning and AI. And we're very much thinking about the API and AI convergence. And how can we start to introduce these capabilities into our journey? To build that metadata, to drive data-driven decisions, reduce key man dependencies, and really, as Nisu was saying, deliver at pace and be more agile. And we think focusing on some of these will really kind of drive our ability to become more digital as a digital business, but also to drive monetization benefits, as some of the talks here have been really enlightening to kind of listen to and kind of think about how we want to implement that. So we hope some of this kind of resonates with you and the journeys that you guys have been on in your organization. And we'd really love to hear from you, maybe in the Q&A or afterwards, as to how you've kind of approached some of this thinking. And thank you for kind of indulging us in the last 15 minutes to listen to something that we're quite passionate about in Lloyds and driving that forward.
Thank you all very much. Cheers.